From the savannah to the midland and the equatorial, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society.
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you prepared? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your departments?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and governments. See something, say something.
The church. You are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you do better. Ambazonians, watch ethics for an emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 10 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. Ambazonians must remain resolute and not be taken by the vicious propaganda being peddled by Yaoundé, claiming that the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia is part of their territory with a common national day of 20th May. A day that a proud and violent people were reduced to colonial status, a status worse than what they obtained during the trusteeship period and the period from 1954 to 1972, when we enjoyed a functional government befitting of our status. This is the summit where we rest undaunted tonight. Another aspect of today's Undaunted, we offer the Ambazonia militants 40 million francs CFA for the release of Senator Regina Mundi, but the separatist leader denied. They are instead requesting that we must swap Mfo Ngala Mfo and Sissoko Ayuk Tabe for our stateswoman. Those demands are impossible, says Yaoundé's puppet Prime Minister Dion Ngute. What's the gimmick behind the La République du Cameroon ADF brouhaha? Could it be possible that Mamundi is just a specimen for the actor's propaganda? Recent leads show that Christopher Anu, dismissed Secretary of State for Communications and IT, could be a possible backstabber of Sissoko Ayuk Julius Tabe. Can you imagine? Well, before we get into that detail, let's get the prime headlines.
Prime headlines. Ambazonians must boycott 20th May year. The 19th and 20th of May are the only days reserved for lockdown, not 5 days. And Lava Storm 3 enters high gear as fire for fire operations engulfs home front. Scandalous. Cameroon's Prime Minister Dion Ngute tells BBC, "We tried to bribe for the release of our CPDM senator in vain." Plane with 11 on board crashes in neighboring La République du Cameroon. With Macron, France can redeem its image in Africa. French president's re-election gives him opportunity to reposition France in the continent, say experts. UEFA Champions League to expand from 32 to 36 teams from 2024.
Today with a critical question: why Southern Cameroonians Ambazonians should boycott 20th May celebrations. Since the current phase of our struggle for self-determination and the restoration of our independence erupted in November 2016, our people have massively boycotted the 20th May celebrations in our territory. This day is a day of infamy to all Southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians. On this day in 1972, the colonial Republic of French Cameroon, in clear violation of the Federal Constitution of 1961 that brought the Independent Republic of French Cameroon and the Independent Republic of the Southern Cameroons together. On this fateful day, Ahidjo, through an illegal and fraudulent referendum, dissolved the Confederal Union of both states and imposed a unitary state in its place. In other words, French Cameroon annexed and recolonized the erstwhile state of West Cameroon in violation of Article 47(1) of the Federal Constitution, which stated that no bill to amend the Constitution may be introduced if it tends to impair the unity and integrity of the Confederation. 2. Bills to amend the Constitution may be introduced either by the President of the Federal Republic after consultation with the Prime Ministers of the Federated States, or by any member of the Federal Assembly, provided that any bill introduced by a member of the Assembly shall bear the signatures of at least 1/3 of its membership. 3. The amendment may be passed by a simple majority of the membership of the Federal Assembly, provided that such majority includes a majority of the membership elected from each federated state. 4. The President of the Federal Republic may request a second reading of a bill to amend the Constitution as of any other federal bill, and in like manner. We must remember here that two separate republics with two different dates of independence came together in 1961 to form a confederal union of two equal states. The French Republic of Cameroon, having obtained her independence on the 1st of January 1960 and becoming a member of the United Nations on the 20th of September 1960 within secured internationally recognized boundaries. Meanwhile, the Southern Cameroons obtained her independence on the 1st of October 1961 within secured internationally recognized boundaries after United Nations General Assembly vote, XV of 21st April 1961. It's therefore inconceivable that in 2022, the erstwhile state of the Southern Cameroons has been annexed and recolonized by the Republic of Cameroon, and a war of genocide being waged against her now for the past 5 years to maintain such. Southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians, just like in the last 5 years of our God-ordained struggle, will once more massively boycott the coming celebrations on May 20th across our territory. The interim government of Ambazonia, led by His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, calls on all Ambazonians to massively boycott the celebrations across our national territory. Southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians all over the world must remember that our national day remains October 1st, the day that the United Nations General Assembly set as our day of independence following Resolution 1608 XV of April 21st, 1961. We must therefore draw the attention of the United Nations and the international community at large to the illegal dissolution of the federal system in 1961. And the abolition of the state of West Cameroon in favor of a unitary state, a situation that has led to the subjugation of millions of Ambazonians under French Cameroon's brutalities. It must also be remembered that though Southern Cameroon's leaders were not in a position politically to oppose the illegal dissolution of the federal system, they however did not agree with the decision, forcing President Amadou Ahidjo of French Cameroon to organize an illegal referendum on the 20th of May 1972 in clear violation of the Constitution of the day. It can equally be argued that the seeds of resistance among Southern Cameroonians was planted on that day, and that has finally grown into the full-blown war of national liberation and restoration of sovereign statehood going on now in our lands. Once more, the interim government of Ambazonia reminds our people of the tragedy that befell our people on this fateful day, and call on all our citizens to show their rejection of the colonial status that French Cameroon has imposed upon them now for the past 57 years by massively boycotting the upcoming so-called National Day celebrations. We, by this token, want to remind Cameroon that their Independence Day, as recognized by the United Nations independence is the 1st of January 1960 and must be celebrated as such. It's no accident that on 1st January 2010, the French Cameroon authorities celebrated their 50th anniversary of independence in pomp and ceremony in their national capital, Yaoundé. Ambazonians must therefore remain resolute and not be taken by the vicious propaganda being peddled by Yaoundé, claiming that the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia is part of their territory with a common national day of 20th May. A day that a proud and valiant people were reduced to colonial status, a status worse than that obtained during the trusteeship period and the period from 1954 to 1972, when we enjoyed a functional government befitting of our status. From the Savannah, the Midlands to the Atlantic zones, the ARF's Misaja local government area, Donga Matung County, joined ARF's Boyi, Boyo and Lebialem counties to send over 20 La République du Cameroun colonial military to the world beyond. May 10, 2022 was a black day for the occupiers and their enablers in Ambazonia. In Misaja local government area, an enabler called Abdul and La République du Cameroun terrorist military met their doom. Abdul, as usual, had been dressed in military uniform by La République du Cameroun military and was poised to terrorize the people in Misaje, as he was usually done every market day for quite a long time till this fateful day. Unfortunately, this day, as it is said, 99 days for a thief and 1 day for the owner. May 10th was that one day for the owner, as Abdul was ambushed and sent 6 feet under by the ARF. A few hours after that, and not known to the gendarmerie officers in the area, the ARF again laid in ambush positions and waited for these terrorists who have done their worst to the population, especially on market days. In Subum village, the 4 terrorist gendarmerie officers were riding to the local market and were all brought down, and one of the greatest harvests of the season was made by the ARFs in this local government area this day. Donga Matung County is alive and too hot for all enablers and the enemy, Aluta, Continua, Victoria, etc. We have images of the harvest the Ambazonian Restoration Forces made yesterday, May 10, 2022, and we will show shortly. But first, it is worthy to mention that more than 20 colonial and genocidal French Cameroon terrorist soldiers have been neutralized between May 1st and May 11th, 2022. Now watch this video. It's highly graphic and viewers' discretion is strongly advised.
This one na the camp where La République be set up for news. They use the camp for exploit resources for Ambazonia illegally. Na machine then this where La République they use them for exploit Ambazonian resources illegally. So General Robosco for Menchum don't decide say we go for burn down any facility where na La République get them where they use them for exploit our resources. We go for burn them down all. May La République leave this land. We get the resources when we get our independence. We could establish our own facilities for the exploit our resources legally. They use them for develop our land. They use these resources. They also come back for can't fight you, so we get for destroy them. Do not get for tolerate them inside Ambazonia. Ambazonia must be free. La République pack and go.
Sisiko Julius Ayuk Tabe, former president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, and 10 were illegally picked up, I would preferably say kidnapped via a clandestine, cruel means by a cross-border Cameroon Secret Service in collaboration with Nigerian DSS in Abuja on January 5, 2018. They were later illegally deported into La Republique du Cameroon for trial and are now serving life imprisonment and jail time. A dark cloud has always hovered over the incident. While it is believed that Sisiku and some of his close pals like Atam Milan, Carlsin Ayangwe, Nalovo B, know the truth about the kidnap of and are unwilling to divulge or submit it to the public. Yesterday, during a live broadcast on Chris Anu's ABS, Christopher Anu dismissed Secretary of State for Communications and IT could be a possible backstabber of Sisiku Julius Ayuktabe. Can you imagine? If you haven't watched the video, which has gone viral, I would recommend that you watch.
What success Congo is doing shows that success in Congo has a hand in the arrest of Sisiku and the Naira 10. So let him look.
All right, I think you have made you've made the point. Let him attempt an answer. Thank you for the call. So others can call.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mr. Chris.
So he is
Mr.
asking
Chris,
whether you had a hand in the abduction of Sisiko.
Mr. Chris, I want you to know the person who have a hand in the abduction of Sisiku. Listen to this now.
Okay. Go under the substance. I'm listening. Hold on, Chris. Hold on.
Now,
go on.
This is Colonel Banqui confirming that you, Mr. Chris, are the one that have a hand in the abduction of Sisiku. Did you hear it? Was I there?
Take that again.
Oh, you want
take
me
that
to play it again?
I was distracted here.
Yes, Colonel Banqui of the Secret Service in Cameroon confirming that you are the one that have a hand in the abduction of Sisiku and Co. I want you to listen.
No, you don't come to my show and you play an audio. I am the only host here. I am the only host here to play audios and to ask questions. You are muted, so that didn't even go out. You are muted. But see, success in Congo, we are very serious here. We
As always, it is a delight to have our news director, Mr. Tarpadi King, here with us in the studio. And tonight is one of those nights where we have to interview him on certain videos, starting with this one here. Mr. Paddy in the house.
Yeah, hello, Star. Can you hear me?
Good evening, sir. You're welcome.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can actually very well.
Thank you. Okay.
So,
I'm all yours now.
watch this video. What do you have to say about it?
You just reported in your news, and you said 99 days for the thief, 1 day for the owner. There's another saying that God, nothing can hide under the sun. Now, when I heard this, I was very busy yesterday with all the work we were doing. You know, I was live yesterday for about 3 hours, and the video was already making rounds on the social media. And when I heard it without even watching, I thought it was a prank. You know, I've always believed that in spite of what people say, you could still award a benefit of doubt. When I watched that video, this was the first reaction. It could have been possible that Success Congo is another liar. Possibly he could have been lying, but these were two things I observed. Number one, Mr. Anu was uncomfortable. If you've done any aspect in psychology, from his body language, you could see that he was uncomfortable when the name Banqui was mentioned, and he had something to hide. Everyone that knows how to interpret body language will come to that conclusion. Number two, we actually heard Colonel Banqui's voice. And before the outbreak of this, there was an intelligence. I don't want to call it a rumor because it's an intelligence. Even his own statements betrayed him. At one time, the interim government had foreign, I would say, diplomacy to do with a certain nation in Africa, Somaliland to be precise, that is partnering with the interim government. And the president had an invitation. The president, I'm talking about President Samuel Iko. And the government decided to send Chris Arno to Somaliland to represent the interim government. After which the president was supposed to go to Somaliland. Chris Arno, by some mysterious means, claimed his own speech. I know you'll be surprised that I have details of this information. His own speech, he said he met Colonel Bankwi while he was transiting, I think, Addis Ababa, one of the airports in Africa. And they did not speak, but Colonel Bankwi called him later on to say, I saw you. So if I wanted to arrest you, I would have arrested you. Even my little daughter of 8 years old cannot lie so foolishly. If you want to lie, learn how to lie. There are people who have gone to school and they know how to lie. Now, the fact that Mr. Arno is unwilling to publicly acknowledge his relationship with Colonel Bankwi, whom we know has been specially positioned by Cameroon to target our leaders home and abroad, or our people home and abroad, is the main strategist, already tells you there is something that's not clear. And now if Success Nkumu, whom we also know relates indiscriminately with Yaoundé, can make such a testimony on Chris Arno's platform, then what more is there to say? I can only tell you that the audio says it all for himself. And I want to, permit me, I'll take more time than you would have provided me. Listen, we told Coopers, some Coopers have just been disgruntled, like Dr. Tita would say. They have just been disgruntled into a Coopers Marienta kind of nonsense. I don't want to call it a government because that is disgraceful for Ambazonia. They did so, maybe they were angry, they had issues with certain individuals. And then Ambazonians had loved Chris Arno, not knowing that he's, first of all, not a very smart man, not knowing that he's a thief, not knowing that he's a liar. And some of these guys believed that he had some aspect of truth in him. And look at the soup that all of them are in. They are in a John Gute Bankwi government. A John Gute of Marietta, a Bankwi of Chris Arno. That is where Ambazonians find themselves. These are citizens of Ambazonia that have been swayed by an individual that was graciously given a high portfolio as spokesperson for Ambazonia. He misinformed Ambazonia and the international community a lot of times. But you know, there are times you just want to use a person because of availability, not because of, I've said this before, I'm not trying to undermine, I'm just giving fact. If they had to use someone of competence, Chris Arno by no way was supposed to be a spokesperson for Amazonia. Amazonia had more and deserved more. But okay, he was available and he was used. Now, the fact that Success Nkomo is claiming that Chris Arno is behind the kidnap of Sisiko in Abuja could be a possibility. Because this man has shown strange behaviors in recent time. From the month of August last year into September, I was working, I think I was the closest person he was working with. There were things that you could not understand in his attitude. I stopped him a couple of times. The day we were supposed to stream the president's speech in October 1st, I think On the 30th of September, I'll never forget that night. I quarreled with Chris Arnold backstage for like 1 hour on nonsense. Because his behavior was strange. He wanted a reset of everything. At one time, you saw he was a man that was not comfortable. And so you find those who are saying that he has been paid by Yaoundé, there is some aspect of truth in it. His actions, his words, his decisions, very senseless. This man will choose for 6 months to victimize Ambazonia, distracting the entire struggle. So this is a God-ordained struggle, and one by one after the other, they will unveil themselves. So Chris Arnold was trying to have Dr. Sako go to Somaliland and be picked up by Banqui. One of these days, I'm going to have a show to give you just details of it. So Dr. Sako was the target. He kept on pressing. Fortunately, maybe because of COVID and the president's wisdom, the president denied and said, okay, on your further notice, every deal, even with the United Nations, the president has told them, any deal we want to have with me is going to be in the United States of America. Because Cameroon would have picked up the president in Somaliland if he had actually gone there. That is where we find ourselves, Star Smart. I hope I've not taken too much time.
No, that's fine. That's very okay. That was a lot of expose right there. Thank you for that one. We'll move on with the news now. Mundi's kidnap and media controversy widens some belief that the actions involved are attracting the intended attention. What is the truth of the matter? Prime Minister of La Republique du Cameroon, Dion Ngute, say, "We offered the Ambazonian militants 40 million francs CFA for the release of Senator Regina Mundi, but the separatist leader denied. They are instead requesting that we must swap Mfo Ngala Mfo and Sisiku Ayuk Tabe for our stateswoman. Those demands are impossible." End of quote. Another quote, "We will raise the amount to 100 million francs CFA when we arrive at internal consensus. But there are no hopes if they will accept the ransom. All attempts to rescue her have failed." CPDM colonial senator for Bamenda local government area Regina Mundi was kidnapped by Ayabacho's ADF on April 30th, 2022 in Bamenda, and her kidnappers took pictures of her reading a statement castigating and calling on the Yaoundé junta to heed to the call for the release of imprisoned Anglophones since the crisis ensued in 2016. What beats the imagination of many is that Senator Barrister Kemende Henry, an outspoken critic of the moribund CPDM junta in Yaoundé, was recently shot dead in his car in Bamenda by suspected La République du Cameroun military. Autopsy reports showed bullet proofs. And this same colonial government stayed mute and never raised eyebrows, as it is the case with the enabler senator, Mundi, member of the CPDM crime syndicate. After all, Kemende was SDF with Ambazonia, blood which does not matter in Yaoundé. Yes, the crime syndicate in Yaoundé's silence confirmed their complicity in his death, as in many other deaths and atrocities they masterminded from behind the curtains, as they and their ADF alliance feed fat from this senseless war Yaoundé declared on peace-loving Ambazonians, reclaiming only their fundamental right. The prompt reaction of the Yaoundé crime syndicates to bribe their fellow accomplices in crime in Ambazonia is scandalous and speaks volume, because it comes at a time when La République du Cameroun is on its knees, unable to make ends meet financially. Teachers are striking, transporters are striking, prices of basic commodities are increasing at geometric proportions, standard of living of the majority population are very low, towns including Yaoundé are filthy, the sewage disposal company is broke and workers on strike, and there's scarcity of water and electricity. This Regina Mundi Gate tells even the blind that refuse to see the colonial government's hand in reaping fat from this senseless war to now start seeing. The ransom announced by the Yaoundé crime syndicate to their accomplices ADF is just an investment to be plowed back through more kidnappings and lootings. This bribery move tells everyone why the Yaoundé crime syndicate and accomplices ADF are scared of the resilient and strategist President Samuel Ikome Sako and the interim government Swiss process to negotiate and end the war. As it is said, he who runs away from an imminent fight lives to fight a much greater fight tomorrow. Operation Lavastone 3, Fire for Fire, will force Colonial La Republic to Cameroon and its accomplices to the Swiss